that graduated in the school of Muhammad ﷺ and got the glimpse of his life ﷺ and share it and shine it and reflect it to all the generations to come. Tonight, inshallah, مع Ramlah bint Abi-Sufiyaan, Umm-Habeebah, one of the ladies that Islam shaped, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her as an example for all the believers to come. نموذج للصمود والثبات. This is an example of steadfastness in the face of all problems and troubles and standing up for one's faith. Umm-Habeebah, her name is Ramlah, and she is the daughter of Abi-Sufiyaan, and Muhammad ﷺ is the prophet who appeared in Mecca. Abi-Sufiyaan, amongst other people, were the leaders of the opposite camp. They were the leaders of the shirk, the idol worshippers. They did everything possible to put that light off, to stop this. ولكن قدر الله أن يعني يكون من ظهر هذا الرجل بنت, from this very man, the leader of Al-Kufr, the leader of the camp against Islam, his own daughter will believe in the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will believe in Islam. Her and Ubaydillah ibn Jahsh, her husband. Her and her husband, they believed in Islam, and Abi-Sufiyaan felt so much shame, about that. It's her own, she's her own daughter, and that's a big embarrassment for him. But he started when the Quraysh came to know that he didn't like that, they started making it harder and harder dealing with them, with her and her husband, just like anybody else. And they turned their life into, horrible thing. When the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the permission for the people to make al-hijrah to Al-Basha, which was a few years after Islam came, and he gave the permission, if you want, you can go to Al-Basha, Abyssinia, because of this just ruler and king there. She got the permission and she left to Al-Basha, her and her husband. They went to Al-Basha to practice the religion, and they spent, some good time there practicing the religion, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this new environment, away from all of this kind of persecution against the believers and Muslims. She thought everything is okay and everything is fine, but subhanallah, things happen. Her husband, who was a good Muslim and he made hijrah for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, all of a sudden, what did he do? He shifted, he abstated from Islam to Christianity. He became a Christian. Subhanallah, نسأل الله يتوفانا على الإسلام. May Allah Azza wa Jal take our soul on Islam. It's not guaranteed, ikhwan. It is not guaranteed that you have a Muslim name, that you even work for Islam, that you will die as a Muslim. Al-a'mal bil-khawatim. We should work so hard so that we get the wasiyya وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Do not die except in the state of Islam. Because somebody could be working so good all of his life, and then before death he dies on something else. That's going to make all the difference. Al-Khatimah. نسأل الله يحسن خاتمتنا أجمعين. May Allah make our end the best, inshallah, all of us. So this person, he was so good Muslim, and he made hijrah even for the sake of Allah, which is something big, but he died as non-Muslim, as a Christian. Now she ended up having either one of three options. Umm-Habeebah. Her and her daughter, Habeebah, what should they do? They either go back to Abi-Sufiyaan, her father, the leader of the opposition against Muslim, against the Prophet ﷺ, or she would remain there in the Al-Basha by herself. Her husband will give her a divorce and she will marry herself. Or he gave her the third option to abstain and to accept Christianity, to be a Christian like him. And the three of them, they were so hard for her. But she decided at the end to go the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She would remain by herself in Al-Basha, in Abyssinia, Ethiopia, and alone. And she will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find her a way out. Soon after that, he passed away. Her husband passed away. He died in there as a Christian. And then, subhanallah, القصة تدور, the life, goes on. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will offer her to get married to her. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a plan for her. She got patient, she didn't know what to do, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam got to know about the news of her, and he will send somebody to the king of Abyssinia, the Najashi, to propose for her. He appointed him to be his wakil because he became Muslim at this time. When they give Islam to him, or introduced Islam to him, he became Muslim. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent somebody to him to send to her to be his wakil to get married to Umm-Habeebah. And subhanAllah, the news came to her like, you can imagine, she would be the wife of al-Bashariyya, she would be al-Mu'mineen, the mother of the believers. She actually saw this in a dream a few days before that. She saw in a dream somebody calling her al-Mu'mineen, the mother of the believers. And she knew something good is going to happen to her. And it came. It came. A few days after that, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam proposed to her. And here we have to have some kind of, stop before we continue. First, it was, they were living in an age that communication was so bad, but still the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is checking on all Muslims. Not only those who are in Medina, he is checking on those who are overseas in other places, what's going on with them. All the way to the individual stories. The story of what's going on to the very individual Muslims. He cares, alayhi salatu wasalam. He wants to know what's going on in all the, what's happening for Muslims. And he cares for them and he helps them to, get out of any trouble that they are in. This is something that we need to carry in our heart. We need to care for all Muslims around the world, no matter where they are. Not only Muslims who are close to you, or not only Muslims in your very own community or your own family. Actually, the greater Islam is in your heart, the greater your care will be for all Muslims around the world. For all the Muslims, because there is a way stronger bond between Muslims and each other than any other bond that could be there. We have other bonds with other people, like we share humanity with all humans, but what we share amongst each other as Muslims is and should be much more than any other bond anywhere else. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is checking on all of these Muslims, and he thought to propose to Umm-Habeebah to give her some kind of ta'wil, and definitely that was the best for her steadfastness. She didn't want to go anywhere but the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She came all the way from Mecca for the sake of Allah, for the sake of the deen. She left her own city and her own town, and she had to go against even her own father. And now she decided to, it's not easy, especially for a woman and a wife, and even back then, because usually wives would follow their husband. If he's doing good, doing bad, if he did anything. But she went against her father, she went against her husband, she went against the entire tribe of hers for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a very strong lady. Umm-Habeebah, Ramlah, bint Abi-Sufiyaan. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam got married to her, and she will go all the way to him in Medina, alayhi salatu wasalam, and he will consummate the marriage. And another situation that happened, that during the period that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had a truce, al-Hudna, no war between Muslims and non-Muslims in Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, Abu Sufyan came, things happened, and Abu Sufyan came to negotiate certain things with the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in al-Madinah. And he thought where to go. He said, well, let me go to my daughter. He went to the door of his house, which is the house of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, one of the houses of him, alayhi salatu wasalam. And he was coming, and definitely she loves her father and everything. But in her eyes, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is higher than anybody else. He tried to set on the place where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sits, or on the firash of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she got the firash, she had to pull it, and she said, well, no, you don't sit in here. This is the place of Rasulullah, you are mushrik. You are non-Muslim. You are a polytheist. And this is the place of Athhar al-Khalq, Muhammad alayhi wasallam, the purest of all people. And he said, well, something evil, something wrong happened to me since last time we've been together. It's not actually something wrong with her. She said, well, is it not yet time for you to think about Islam? You still worshiping this stone? You worship stone? لا ينفع ولا يضر, does not give benefit, does not harm. You believe in that? Like she's telling him, you are smarter than this. You should be smarter than this. SubhanAllah, soon after that, Imam Ibn Kathir said, some mufassirun say, عسى الله أن يجعل بينكم وبين الذين عاديتم منهم مودة. The ayah in Surah Al-Mumtahina, maybe Allah will make between you and those like your enemies some kind of mawadda, some kind of relationship of love or something. Some scholars believe that this ayah refers to this relationship between Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Abu Sufyan, because they become ashab, in-laws. He got married to his daughter, and that led later on probably to some kind of taqarrub, or they got closer. And Abu Sufyan at the end, he accepted Islam. He was leader of al-shirk wal-kufr, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destined for him al-hidayah, and he was guided toward Islam. She lived long life after Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Umm-Habeebah, and she was one of the people who were known to follow the footsteps of Muhammad ﷺ. She was following the sunnah of Rasul ﷺ in everything she was doing. She lived like 33 years after Nabi ﷺ, long time after he passed away ﷺ. And now it's time for this gift of the soul to go back to the giver of this gift. She would sleep on the deathbed just like everybody of us. Well, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it the easiest moment for all of us, inshallah. And now she is dying. And she called Aisha radiallahu anha and the other who was left of the mothers of the believers, other wives of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she was asking all of them to forgive her. She said, things happen between us just like dara'ib, like different wives of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We used to have some issues and some things between us. Please forgive. I ask Allah to forgive all of us. Forgive me, and they forgive her. And soon after that, she passed away during the time of her brother's reign, Muawiyah ibn Abi-Sufiyaan. Muawiyah ibn Abi-Sufiyaan, who ruled after Ali radiallahu an al-Jamia, was her brother, as we know. She passed away. One of the mothers of the believers, one of our mothers. That's how Allah called her. وَأَزْوَاجُهُ أُمَّهَاتُهُم. The wives of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are their Umm-Habeebah, their mothers for believers. And it's going to be shame on Muslims not to know their mothers, not to know their mothers, that Allah called them their mothers. So let's read more and more about our mothers. One of them is Ramlah, bint Abi-Sufiyaan, Umm-Habeebah, bint Abi-Sufiyaan. Obviously Allah chose her to be mothers for the believers, maybe because of this kind of thabat al-haq, steadfastness and being strong for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for the deen. May Allah give us all this kind of thabat, this kind of steadfastness and strength for al-haq, and to live for Islam, and to live on Islam, and to die on Islam, inshallah. جزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.